Hi guys, welcome to my skills presentation for this week. This week I'm focusing on Adobe Lightroom, more specifically color correction. I would say I'm currently a 2 out of 10 on this subject area. I feel like I can navigate the software pretty well, but I feel like I'm editing blindly when it does come to color correction. So in terms of my aims and objectives, this week I want to focus on understanding the difference between color correction and stylistic color grading and just showing off some practical examples of these. I then want to move on to understanding how to use multiple tools such as the white balance tool and the healing tool, as well as comprehending how to use the histogram, which I believe is really important. I then wanted to look at the history behind colour and look at colour harmony and aesthetics and understand the importance of white balancing within this. I then had a reflection period at the end, just understanding what went well and what didn't, and just comprehending what I should focus on next week to advance my skill sets. So this week I interacted with a variety of different resources, but felt like I needed to engage in more academic readings instead of just diving straight into a YouTube video. So I found a thesis by Tarina Tomiska, and she covered a variety of different things regarding to colour correction. It was really interesting and really visual as well. She went through the difference between colour correction and grading. So obviously colour correction is a process to make the footage look like the way in which a human eye would see it, whereas colour grading is more creating like a visual mood and aesthetic. She also went through the industry workflow as well of colour grading, which is really interesting. She then talked about colour aesthetics and harmony, making reference to Robert Plutnik and his infographic of psychoevolutionary theory of emotion, and just letting me understand that different colours have certain emotions. She then moved on to talk about Freeman. He talked about how any two opposites of colours, they create a sense of harmony, and also saying that like this isn't applicable to every single piece of footage that you were to edit, because it can make it kind of predictable and very uninteresting. And then she also had a visual talking about the blue and gold dress and how different colours in light can distort the image's white balance and create illusion of perceived colours. So I really, really recommend this thesis. So moving on, I looked at a couple of YouTube videos and a blog by Hildebrandt, which basically covered how to use a histogram and how to read one. So what Hildebrandt said within this blog was that a histogram is a graphical representation of the pixels within an image. So the left side of the graph represents like the blacks or the shadows, the right side represents the highlights or the bright areas, and in the middle represents the midtones. In an ideal world, the graph should just touch the left and right edges of the histogram and not split up the sides. The graph should also have a nice arch in the centre. However, this ideal histogram doesn't always apply in every situation for every scene, so obviously you are going to have a different stylistic approach to whatever picture you're taking. I also learnt about clipping, which happens when you have areas with no information of your photo, so an area which is either pure white or pure black, and these are known as blown out areas. And within this screenshot here, I learnt how you can turn these on, and then you'll be able to see like which areas are blown out. So making reference to my practical, I feel like it was at this point I realised that maybe I should split up my colour correcting and my colour grading into two separate presentations, because there's quite a lot of things to learn and quite a lot of tools to be able to get used to, such as the white balance selector tool, the masking selective edit tool, and the linear gradient tool. Within this time lapse as well, you can see me using the healing brush tool as well to get rid of some boats in the background. I also make reference to the histogram and look back at the original as well to make sure there's a perfect balance between the whites and the blacks. I also changed the colour of this object here from red to this kind of like aqua colour by using the masking tool, and also made the cliff edge a bit more brighter in terms of contrast and exposure as well. So here's just a quick before and after with the histograms being shown. The after, now looking back on it now, looks way too green, but that's no problem because on the Lightroom app there's like a history tab that you can use to kind of go back step by step and edit this. Now that I can read the histograms as well, I can tell that there's a lot more emphasis within the darker areas in the after compared to the emphasis on the highlights in the before as well. Here's just some more examples of where I've gone in with the white balance selector tool first and just sorted that out, and then gone through with like the spot healing brush tool and got rid of some boats as well as some cobwebs, and then also used the contrast slider to be able to make the background look a lot more brighter. So with these two examples here, especially this one, I started to explore a little bit into colour grading, but not too much. Here you can see that I made it look a bit more autumnal, but the main reason why I edited these photos was to get used to the Lightroom app on my iPad and get used to the interface on there. I just watched a YouTube video by John Bodie to understand the differences. There isn't a lot of differences, except that it is free, but if you have the subscription, you have more access to more advanced benefits such as clipping and the spot healing brush tool as well. So there weren't many problems that I encountered, but there was this one here, and in reflection to further my learning, I would like to correct or grade footage that was originally under or overexposed and kind of save them, and next week I want to focus on colour grading.